Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Mikhail Peters. I am once again trying to do this before I lose all of the daylight. And the thing about me sleeping in really late because I work weird hours means that I lose almost all the daylight, which is probably not good for my mental health. I had like a whole sad girl moment last night when I got home and I was just like, what's going on? And then I realized it's probably the weather. So I'm going to do my next video on Tuesday next week because of travel. What better thing to do this time of year than to travel? And I'm probably just catching up on all the sleep that I don't get while I'm traveling. Okay, so, and yeah, I'm trying to like go exercise and stuff because I'm trying to at least be regular with that. Now I understand when people don't move around as much as me, it's like really not sustainable, and it's definitely about to, like I'm saying, after this year, after mid next year, it's definitely going bye-bye. So I don't know what I'll talk about after that since that's the whole point of this channel. Okay, well, a lot of it's language stuff. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. So I get a lot of messages, emails, messages, comments, and I'm very sorry that I cannot get through all of them. I would literally have to start paying somebody to go through them because it's like becoming too monumental of a task. However, people will like send me questions and I'm like, great, I'm just going to make a video about that because that's going to be way faster than me sitting here typing out something. Unfortunately, talking is way faster than typing. It makes me wonder why we ever switched to texting instead of just calling people, but whatever, doesn't matter. Okay. Oh, because people are more socially awkward now. No, I have no idea. Okay, so I had a question that somebody wanted me to talk about in Russian. Wanted me to talk about in English, the English version of how I learned Russian, because yes, I do have Russian videos all about that because Russian people are interested, but this was specifically for an American person who's dating a Russian person who wants to learn Russian, and they're like, how'd you do it? And, I'm going to start off with, like, I actually have tried to learn a language for somebody in a romantic way, maybe, and it's not as strong of a motivator as wanting to learn a language because you like the language. It doesn't mean I couldn't do it and I didn't do it because like I did. It's just that once that relationship ended, I didn't have any motivation to continue with the language, that kind of situation. So I would keep that in mind, that it can, yeah, the sad thing is relationships do end sometimes. So, like, I guess sounds very weird, but like the motivation and commitment level of the person trying to learn the language is very important. If you're like married or something, a little bit different. But, yeah, just, I don't know. I'm going to preface it with that because of like my own experience. So like asking me how I learned Russian because I actually did get this question from somebody at my job, who actually came from Kazakhstan to the US and she works at the company I work at, and she met some American guy and they're married now, and she's trying to like, get him to learn Russian, or I think he wanted to learn Russian, whatever the situation was. And so I actually referred him over to the institute or the school, I suppose, that I did Russian language lessons with. And by the way, I can actually put people in contact with these people if they want. So basically it's the program that I went to Kyrgyzstan on in 2019, and it was like Central Asian studies, and so that's why I went to a bunch of Central Asian countries, including Turkmenistan, as crazy as that is. And we had COVID in the middle of that whole thing, so I had to come back to the US, and when I came back to the US, I was taking remote courses with the same people. It was like really early my time, like maybe let's say 7 a.m. and then for them it was nighttime because that's probably the only way that really works, I guess. And I know right now, like this anecdote I just gave, he is currently taking courses with somebody in Ukraine, but I know it's been kind of difficult because Ukraine and the situation. So they do have like different schools set up in Ukraine, Kyrgyzstan. I'm trying to think of even where else that they do their programs at this point. They might have some in Georgia. So, yeah, I personally liked learning Russian in Kyrgyzstan. Like, I feel like it was kind of good Russian training wheels because people's register of vocabulary and speech is not as high as that of, like, legit Russian people. But then I keep in mind that the Russian people I became exposed to living in Finland are probably not just, like, your average Russian people. they're like your like St. Petersburg elite people, or like just very smart people who are going to use better vocabulary anyway, because there's nothing shameful about using good vocabulary in Russian. In the US, I actually used to use like a lot better vocabulary, and then it was drawing too much attention to me. It made me feel awkward, so I tried to make myself sound stupider when I talk. Okay, so what's my point with this? I just don't think that learning Russian from Kyrgyz people is a bad option. Russian people are kind of like, what? Because that accent can be a little bit different. But to me, it's like much more neutral compared to, well, it depends on the person, because some people have a stronger like Central Asian accent than others. But if I think about it compared to like, I don't know, like Armenian people have a much stronger accent when they speak Russian, in my opinion. Sometimes like it's harder for me to understand them. And also it's kind of interesting because Armenian people like will not always have perfect grammar in Russian to the way like compared to what I'm used to. Like at this point my Russian's so good I can like tell when people are making grammar mistakes a lot of it, like let's say 75% of the time. So I don't know, like I actually feel like the people in Kyrgyzstan who are teaching Russian are like pretty good at Russian. Okay, so yes, like I just gave an example of like you can get into these classes. There are also like obviously other ways like Preply or whatever other websites where you can do language exchange or just like pay for language lessons. So it really just depends on the person. Like I know people, I didn't drink any tea yet this morning. It's not even morning, but I basically think it is because of what's going on in my life. Okay, and I'll have to try and finish making this quick because I have to get out of the house real quick again. Okay, I'm not liking my life right now. I'm like, can't handle it. Okay, anyway, so brain work. People ask me a lot, like, do I watch films? Do I listen to music? Films? No, I don't even watch movies in English. I like don't have time for that. I choose not to have time for that because it's really like a huge time suck. It's like 2 hours. I do listen to Russian music. Do I think it helps? No. I listen to Finnish music too. I listen to Thai music. I listen to music in like every single language almost. And do I think it helps? No, I don't. I'm gonna be honest. If you already know the language, kind of, but for learning it, no. That's my opinion. Other people will have different opinions. So for me, I feel like if I have pay attention to something, I can't really pick it up. This whole picking up languages thing, I like never knew what people were talking about with that. I learned Russian through like hard work and dedication and it being my autistic special interest for many years, which it honestly like still is like pretty much the primary one. Why I do this channel, because I basically don't have another medium by which I can keep maintaining Russian as easily. And for me, I know that like I'm a little bit social, so for me, I need like interaction with people to be able to learn, and then I'll sort of like lock in these memories around certain vocabulary words. So for me, learning Russian in context in Kyrgyzstan, like I was sitting in lessons, like learning things, and then I would go apply it in the real world. It was like the best for me. So when you ask like, how did I learn Russian? Well, somebody who is with somebody in the US and then trying to learn Russian, it might be a lot harder than just shipping somebody off to Kyrgyzstan or wherever for a couple of months and then sitting in classes and going and talking to random people. And then, because that is how I learned. Like, I could not speak. I studied Russian for like 3 years and I could not speak until I went to Kyrgyzstan. In the first 2 weeks, nobody understood me at all. And it was really pitiful, but it was also really cool because by the time I was at like the month mark, like I was like, wow, people like are starting to understand me. And like, that was probably one of the most rewarding, enriching experiences of my life that I've ever had. Yeah. So it's like a really hard question to answer because obviously everybody's language learning journey looks different. I have seen people just like straight up learn languages without ever needing to go abroad. Like I know some people are like, oh, I have a hard time learning English because I'm not in England or in the US. Yeah, but I also find that like, how do all these Europeans just speak to each other in English? I don't know. It's sort of like everybody has their own sort of like nuanced ways of speaking English because English is like the most widely spoken language. Like there are like some grammar mistakes that are just very accepted, like in Finland that I notice, and I don't correct people because that is the vernacular that they use and they understand each other with. So that's fine. I'm not going to use it because I know it's not correct, but just as an example. Okay, so I don't know. I guess that's kind of everything. Is it's like, for me, I'm not a self-study. Some people are good at that. Some people can sit down, pick it up, whatever. If I don't have a lesson, I'm not paying somebody and there's no like incentive, right? Like to me, paying somebody is an incentive to do my homework, to learn the thing. I'm not going to learn it. Like I already know that about myself. I already have like 5 bajillion things going on at all times. casually sitting around and studying Russian, I still don't do it. I have Russian books. I try to read them from time to time. I'm not good at it. And I know that, like, to get to a higher level, that's literally what I have to do is just start reading books. Because I'm so proficient in talking to people in Russian at this point that, like, I realized kind of yesterday that, like, that isn't going to help me. Because a lot of it for me is very, like, grammar nuance and, like, vocabulary at this point, because I already, like, understand how to, like, construct my thoughts and have, like, a good enough vocabulary to do pretty much everything that I need to do to, like, function in a Russian society. So it depends what level you're at, because the higher of a level you get to, the harder it is to make progress. So I've been kind of, like, stuck at this, like, C1 level for years, like, years and years, like, since, like, 2021 probably. Yeah, and then I started learning Russian for reference in 2014, so it's already my 10-year anniversary. Yeah, so, like, again, this is not like and I maintain it, right? Spanish I don't maintain, which is why my Spanish is kind of crap at this point, but it's still there because I learned it when I was so young, I think. So it's, like, the first language I learned, which I started learning at maybe, like, 10 or something, and then got better by the time I was, like, 19, and then dropped Spanish around 19. So all of my Spanish is, like, the 19-year-old level and probably whatever I've forgotten. But Russian I've been doing since then. So, like, literally 10 years. So, yeah, I mean, it's like, get a language teacher, stick yourself in situations with Russian people. Like, it's uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable. Your brain is going to hurt at the beginning, and then eventually all of a sudden it just gets easier. So, I don't know. I hope that helps. Like, again, it's sort of, like, a hard to say. I can tell you what I did, but not everybody's going to have the same opportunities I did, or, you know, pick it up or not pick it up, or be able to sit in classrooms. I'm great at sitting in classrooms. I've always been good at school. So there's that. All right, I'm going to try and do a Russian video real quick because I got to get out of here. All right, so that's everything. And until my next video on Tuesday. Okay, thank you. Bye.